Hey there, welcome to my channel. This is a video on the energy type reflector. This is the final video on my energy type series. I've done all the types before and we're finally coming to reflectors, which is a very rare human design type. From what I've seen with all reflectors, when they learn that they're reflectors, it finally helps them feel seen. But at the same time, it's a good mix between, okay, now they understand why they are the way they are, but it's also just empowering because there's a lot of open centers at work here, and there's not much that they have in their control, and their life is pretty much around surrendering. So, this makes it very challenging to live in a world full of manifestors, generators, and projectors. So, reflectors deal with a very unique challenge. However, with times changing and with the human consciousness evolving, we need reflectors now more than ever to really make us see how our society is working and if we are where we're supposed to be. They're here to help us feel seen. It is up to us to make sure that we're empowering our reflectors and making sure that they're being seen because their advice and their foresight is like no one else. So, yeah, but let's get started. Reflectors represent about 1% of the population. With reflectors, there's no defined energy center. So, when you do not have a defined energy center, there's a lot of inconsistency around how you're expressing an energy center. Because on the days when certain centers do get activated, thanks to being in the vicinity of someone who has that center defined, or say if you're in the middle of certain transits, you're going to experience a definition in certain centers, and then you're going to start acting in accordance to that energy that you're getting from the center, and it's going to make you feel different. So with that, there's a lot of unreliableness that's around the centers, and you're going to feel one way one day and you're going to feel a whole different way the another day. And this is quite frustrating because that inconsistency is a consistent theme in the reflector's life. However, I don't want this to be disempowering because with reflectors, there is a tendency to go into the victim side of things. And I understand how easy it can be. But know that while you're in that victim frequency, and nothing can help you, the only way you can get out of that victim frequency is by embracing who you are and understanding that this is a life contract that you made for yourself. You chose to incarnate this way, and it allows you to do certain things that you were meant to in this life. So, understand your design. As hard as it is, try to embrace it and know that this does not have to be a handicap for you, because there's a lot of ways to make your reflector design empowering for yourself. You can utilize a lot of different tools in order to make sure that energetically you don't feel washed. So yeah, that's what I want to start with. Like, don't let yourself feel disempowered because of your energy. Now, as I said before, there's that tendency to get disempowered. So the one thing that I'm going to extend to you is, think about it this way. We all, no matter the type, we all have 26 activations in our human design body graph. That is the little numbers that you see on your body graph. Those are known as gates. And when they're colored in, that gate is known as an activated gate. It's an activation that's within you. You do not have your centers defined, but at the same time, know that you have 26 activations, just like any other energy type out there, which means that you have access to that energy, and those activations are consistent for you like others. The difference between someone else and you would be that they have consistent access to that energy. Meanwhile, for you, those activations are dormant, which is that when that center does get defined for you in the middle of a transit, or while you're in the aura of someone else, you will have that consistent way of how you're expressing that particular center. That is a consistency that you can lean towards and that you can embrace. Reflectors are here to help people feel fully seen. Whenever you have an undefined center, you become sort of an empath in that center, because you can see, you can sense what the other people is feeling or expressing, things along those lines. Because all your centers are undefined, you are a complete empath. At any point of time, you're going to know what it's like to be the other person. You are going to literally, you have this x-ray vision, even more so than a projector, where you're going to be able to exactly see the person the way it is. Reflector and their power, you're going to help other people feel seen. Now remember, with when you have undefined centers, you're not only an empath in those areas, but you also have the ability to amplify those energy centers that are within the other person. So with that, if you are in your power, when you are really at your highest potential there is, you not only have the ability to help the person feel seen, but when you're surrounded by the right people and when you're in the right energy, you have the ability to amplify how they feel no matter what centers they have defined, because you have everything undefined. So you can be an amplifier for them. Let's talk about environment because this is super important because you are an empath and because you have the tendency to amplify things. It is very essential for you to be in the right environment. You have to be around the right people. If you're around people who are not in the right state of mind, or if you're around places that are not energetically right for you, it can end up amplifying things in a wrong and negative way. And that is what happens with reflectors, especially before they discover human design or before they go through personal development, is that they kind of feel as if they're bringing everything down and that they're amplifying things and things are just getting worse. And now, when you really make that transition into moving into the right environment with the right people, you will see this complete 180 in the way things are happening around you, because now you are actually the person who is empowering someone else by just being present. You don't even have to do anything. Just by you being present, you can elevate the vibration of that place and of the people around you. Now, the strategy and authority of any energy type within human design is how you make decisions. The reason why this is important is because we have always been told to make decisions using our intuition. And while this works for some energy types, it doesn't work for everyone. You cannot make decisions from an undefined energy center, because when you do that, you could be acting out of from the not self side of that energy center, and that is never the right way to do things. So as an example, I have an undefined root center. So with this undefined root center, there is a tendency to try to get rid of this outside pressure that you feel, to kind of hurry things up, to speed things up. And then a lot of decisions that I used to make before I discovered human design were from a space of that energy, where I was trying to make decisions in order to expedite things, in order to just get rid of that pressure that I had on me. And that was not the right way to do things, because that really came from my not self theme. However, with human design, now I understand that I cannot make decisions from my undefined centers, because I could be making a decision out of the not self theme, and it is always going to come from a place of fear, from a place of lack, and that is never a good way to make decisions. So, for you as a reflector, because you don't have any of those energy centers defined, you especially are going to benefit a lot from understanding what the not self theme of every energetic center within you means, because then you're going to understand what it's like not to make a decision from your not self theme. So for everyone else, their guidance is that they should make decisions from their self theme, right? But in your case, you are advised to not make a decision from your not self theme. So I hope that helps. With human design, your strategy is exactly how you initiate something or how you enter into an action. And for reflectors, that is waiting for a lunar cycle. The reason why you wait for a lunar cycle is that over the course of lunar cycle, with every single day, you're going to notice a shift in your energetic makeup in your lunar cycle, which is that through the transit, you're going to have a certain center defined. And when you have that center defined, you are going to feel the not self side of things. So there's a wisdom with the undefined centers. You could be operating from the aligned side of things, or you could be acting from the aligned undefined side of things. That's where you want to start asking your questions, that am I operating from that pressure? Am I operating from a fear, right? You want to start asking those questions that are around the not self themes of energy centers on each and every day of your cycle, in order to make sure that you're not making a decision from a place of fear or from a place of scarcity and not enoughness. That is something that you're supposed to do. You're supposed to track everything over the course of lunar cycle. Now, keep in mind that every decision, this guidance is only for big decisions in your life. For small decisions, go with your intuition. What feels right to you, as long as you're in the right environment, as long as you're around the right people, whatever feels right to you, you do that. However, when it comes to big decisions in your life, the guidance is to wait for a lunar cycle, and you'll get the hang of it as you start tracking the lunar cycle. Initially, it can feel overwhelming, but over the course, you will notice this consistency in your energetic makeup. You will notice that on day 4 of your lunar lunar cycle, for example, you're very energetic, and perhaps that may be because you have certain generated channels that are activated, and these certain centers that are activated. So you will notice that shift in your energy, the feeling of pressure that you feel within yourself. You're going to notice that shift on certain days. So make sure you track that pretty well, because once you track it, you will notice that consistency, because it's going to keep the same themes, the same highs and lows are going to keep happening every single month. Now, keep in mind that for reflectors, like projectors, they have to be initiated into things before you make a decision. So it should never be that, hey, I got this intuitive idea. Now let me think how I feel about it over the course of lunar cycle so that I can take action on it. Unfortunately, that is not how it works, because reflectors have limited energy to work with. They do have to wait for an invitation like a projector, or they do have to be initiated into a cause or an action before they use the strategy of lunar cycle. Now, let's talk about your not self theme and your signature theme. Your not self theme is kind of the low vibration that you experience. And this is not a place where you want to be. You want to ideally be in your highest vibration, which is known as a signature theme or your self theme. And for reflectors, your not self theme is that of disappointment. Not self theme of disappointment comes from two places. It comes from disappointment for you, within yourself, for yourself, because you know your potential. You have seen these different activations within you, all these energetic centers full of energy, and you've seen that energetic side of you. But you know that you can be consistent the way a lot of personal development or a lot of growth leaders expect you to. So there's a sense of disappointment within you, that why can't I be consistent like everyone else? But the reality is that you're not designed to be consistent like everyone else. Your consistency is different than others. With us, we are solar beings. So every single day we're going to be consistent. But for you, you're going to be consistent over a period of lunar cycle. And that changes in consistency is something that has to be embraced. The not self theme of disappointment also comes from being disappointed in others. This disappointment comes from a place of people not taking your advice and people not allowing you to reflect. Reflectors need to reflect, and that sometimes people don't get it, and people are not ready for that, and that can cause a sense of disappointment within you, because you exactly know what it is that they need reflected back to them. You're an empath. You see the issues, right? You know what needs to be reflected, and it's something in their aura that needs, like, it's not that you're providing advice, but rather you're reflecting back what's in their aura back to them. And sometimes people don't like what they see. That can cause a problem for others, but understand that there's nothing for you to get disappointed by that, because that's not your problem, that's there. This will also tie in a lot with understanding what gates you have activated within your human design body graph, because if you have a lot of projected gates that are in a projected channel that are activated, then you're going to need invitation in order to reflect. However, if you do have generator channels, if you have manifested channels, then it's going to be a little bit different. Not channels, I'm sorry, gates. And then it's going to be different where you can offer that insight. So the disappointment is going to come from people, because the disappointment is also going to be from other people, because you, as a reflector, you're an empath. You can see, you know exactly what this person is. And basically, when you're sitting across from someone, that person, through their aura, you can easily reflect back what this person is thinking back to themselves. But sometimes people are not necessarily ready for that reflection, and when you reflect, it could end up not going that well, and that could lead to disappointment. And this is why your strategy comes into play over here, because a lot of times, like I said, especially with big things, reflectors do need that invitation, and they do need to get initiated. So the signature theme of a reflector is that of surprise. This is a surprise for everything. It's surprise that, wow, I reflected that and it changed the person's life. It's a surprise for, oh my God, I reflected it back to the person and it completely changed their life. So that is really where the element of surprise comes from, because you're not just happy for yourself, you're happy for the other person and the difference that you made. Because throughout your life, it's been, oh man, I can't, nothing's going the way it's supposed to be. And suddenly you're finally being recognized. And it's this element of surprise, because you did not expect that something as simple as you just being there, you just reflecting back someone's aura to them, could make such a big difference. Now, keep in mind, as I said before, reflectors do have to be invited to mirror someone's aura. You do have to be invited to reflect. Not everyone's ready for that type of mirroring back. Some people are not ready to confront their shadows. So that is something to keep in mind. But once you are invited to reflect, it is powerful. You're here to awaken someone to their full potential, to a world of possibilities. That is your gift. That is a gift that no other energy types have except you. You have the ability to not only reflect back, but to amplify. So if someone's at a good vibration, you have the ability to take them from good to high, right? So that is something that not many energy types can do. Let's talk about reflector conditioning. There is this myth in a way that reflectors have a lot of conditioning as compared to other energy centers, and that is not true. Reflectors do have conditioning, yes, because there are a lot of undefined centers, but the conditioning is different because reflectors have a sampling aura. They have the ability to sample someone's aura without taking it all in, whereas all the other energy types, we take it in our undefined centers, but reflectors have the ability to fully be immersed, yet not be fully immersed in it. It's this almost this protective mechanism that their aura has. So don't let that disempower you. Your aura does protect you in a different way than it does the other energy types. As I said before, in terms of conditioning, there is shame around inconsistency because you're not consistent and you're making those demands of yourself. Know that you are consistent, you're just consistent in a different way. It is around a lunar cycle versus being consistent every single day. One of the other areas where you can see consistency is through your conscious sun, which is if you look at your body graph, you will have two boxes on the top left, on the top right of the body graph. That's your conscious sun, and conscious earth, unconscious earth. So these are something that's going to be very consistent for you. So keep that in mind. That is an area that you can play with very much in terms of consistency. With reflectors, you do have that sampling aura, but then keep in mind if you're going to be around someone who is defined and there's this almost this negative conditioning that you've been exposed to, there is a tendency for it to get imprinted on you. So there is a possibility that you may be clinging on to someone in order to get that sense of identity or for love, especially when it comes to your G center, right? Just be aware of the fact that if you're around someone for a long time, you could have that tendency of clinging on to things that may not really be your true self. There's also conditioning around rushing to make decisions. This comes from the undefined root center. This comes from just conditioning all over that. All right, you have to make a decision now, 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 now. Everyone almost has the ability to do that, while reflectors are asked to wait for a lunar cycle. So there may be this conditioning to almost speed things up. Know that that is not a part of your design. If you do decide to override that lunar cycle, then yeah, it could be like throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks, but you don't have the energy to do that, right? So you could take 10 different actions. One may end up working out, but you just experience severe loss of energy that you did not have to begin with. It's going to lead to health issues within you. And at the same time, you're going to have to deal with your not self theme of disappointment because 9 out of 10 did not work out. So it's going to give you the sense of disappointment. And that's a low vibration for you. So that's something to keep in mind. In conclusion, I think as a reflector, it is enormously important to understand all the undefined centers and understand the not self theme of those undefined centers because at any point in time, if you feel that you're acting out of that not self theme, that is your sure sign that, hey, you are in an alignment and there's something you need to do. I also highly recommend doing energy healing as a non-energy type. Cosmic energy is one of the purest forms of energy that you can condition yourself with, and not all conditioning is bad. Conditioning is bad when if you're nonstop using conditioning in order to do things that you're not really built to keep up with, and it is bad when the conditioning is not really positive, right, where it is causing you to make unaligned decisions in life. So my recommendation would be energy healing is something that can help you tremendously, especially to feel good within yourself, and especially to make sure that you don't have any energetic blockages within your subtle body system. So yeah, with that, I hope this helps. And I do have a cheat sheet in the description box down below where I go a little bit more into the reflector strategy of how to wait for a lunar cycle. And I have provided some examples over there. So if you find that that's something that would help you, then be sure to check it out. It is in the description box down below. And I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.